Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you're having a fantastic day so far. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about the possibility of renewed monthly payments going out to some American families who would be eligible for these payments and why it's actually bipartisan this time around and may actually have a chance of passing before this year's end. This is a very huge update. Also, we're going to be going over a quick update for Social Security as well, which is going to be very critical over the next few days, and just a few things to look out for. But before we go ahead and dive into the main content of today's video, if you wouldn't mind helping me out real quickly by just giving this video a like, that just helps out with the good old YouTube algorithm, and also consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. Okay, so as I just mentioned a moment ago, of course, we have monthly payments going out to some American families, whether you want to call them stimulus payments or anything else. Yes, these are back on the table, and this time around, it also happens to be bipartisan. Now, the problem is, even though it's bipartisan, both parties have conflicting views on how they should do this. So Democrats have their own idea, and Republicans have their own idea, and this whole thing may fall apart if they're not able to bridge the gap. But I do think at the end of the day, they probably do come up with some sort of solution that meets both parties' needs. So according to USA Today, Child Tax Credit 2023, what new proposals from Dems GOP mean for you. So both parties at the moment have their own plan for the child tax credit, which would send either monthly or at the end of the year payments to American families per child ages birth, even pre-birth, up until the age of 18. So lawmakers on Capitol Hill from both sides of the aisle are pushing for a revival of the expanded child tax credits, but they are running into a familiar problem. They can't agree on how to do it. Democrats seek a complete return of the expanded child tax credit from President Joe Biden's COVID-19 stimulus bill, while Republicans are spearheading their own version of the child tax credit, one that includes provisions for unborn children and expectant mothers that has received the support of anti-abortion groups. So the Republicans have a really interesting plan where they would actually be sending money to expecting mothers, which is a lot different from what the Democrats right now are suggesting. Now, for any mothers or parents who are going through pregnancy right now, obviously there's a lot of expenses that come up with that. I mean, you're going to the doctor every couple of weeks for checkups. This is very expensive. So the plan to send money to parents before their child is even born, this would be a huge provision. But of course, Democrats and Republicans have other differing things in their plans as well, which we are going to cover here real quickly. But some Republicans who have said they would support expanding the child tax credit said any version that would earn their support would have to be more narrow. Senator Mitt Romney told USA Today he also wants assurances a tax credit would be, quote, fully paid for. He said, quote, I think a child tax credit can work, but only if it's fully paid for. Any more spending without at least eliminating other programs, he added, is probably not going to fly. So yes, Republicans right now have a thing where they want to reduce what we're spending to kind of match up with what's going out versus what's coming in, because right now we are close to, or we're right at $32 trillion for our national debt. And this is obviously very concerning. We saw recently that Fitch actually downgraded the United States credit from AAA to AA+, and we obviously don't want to go down any further, even if you think that credit downgrade was a joke. At the end of the day, we are $32 trillion in debt, and if you look at any company, like if Apple or Microsoft, for example, was $32 trillion in debt, you would probably look at that company and be like, I don't think they're doing all that well with money if they're that much in debt. So we have Romney and other Republicans coming out there and say that if we have any more of these programs, we need to make sure that they're fully paid for by bringing in more taxes or something like that. Now, the article goes on to say that Torres has reintroduced the American Family Act, so this is going to be the plan by Democrats with DeLauro and Representatives Susan Delbene, which would make permanent the expanded and improved monthly child tax credit. He called the expiration of the expanded credit a tragedy for America's children. So in the American Family Act, it makes the credit fully refundable, so it would be available to children and families left behind because of an earnings requirement. It continues the child tax credit of $3,600 a year for children 6 or younger. These would be in $300 monthly payments, so every single month you'd receive an automatic direct deposit to your bank, $300 per child. And then it also expanded the credit to $3,000 a year for children ages 6 to 17. So anyone below the age of 18 would be $3,000 per year spread out in monthly payments. And it also allows families to receive the credit every month, expands the credit to U.S. territories like Puerto Rico. And then, of course, in the GOP, in the Republican version, they have their own bill, which has its similarities to the Democratic bill, actually some improvement in some areas and maybe some disimprovement in other areas. So one GOP version sponsored by Representatives Ashley Hinson and Florida's Marco Rubio would further expand the child tax credits payments to include unborn children and their expectant mothers. The Providing for Life Act, co-sponsored by Hinson and Rubio, would expand the refundable child tax credit to $4,500 per child under 6 and provide up to $3,500 for children under age of 18 for working families. The proposed Republican legislation also includes language to increase anti-abortion resources and support federally funded faith-based organizations that provide social services. So, we can see the differences there. It's unclear whether or not Republicans would send these out in monthly installments or if they would wait at the end of the year. Most likely it would be at the end of the year via tax season, just because in the Republican plan, unlike in the Democratic plan, in the Republican plan, there would be income requirements. So you would have to earn a certain amount of money in order to receive the full credit. Whereas in the Democratic plan, the credits would be fully refundable whether or not you earn a certain income threshold. Now, we can also look at some other differences here in the Republican plan, which makes it better than the Democratic plan, is that for children under the age of 6, they're going to be sending out $4,500, whereas in the Democratic plan, they're only going to be sending out $3,600 for those under the age of 6. And then for those 6 to 17, Republicans are going to be sending out $3,500 for those ages 6 to 17 children. And then in the Democratic plan, in the Democrats' plan, they're only going to be sending out $3,000. So across all age groups, Republicans are going to be sending more money. However, like I mentioned just a moment ago, in the Democratic plan, there are no income requirements. So even the poorest of families, those that aren't earning that much income, are going to be receiving the full amount. Whereas in the Republican plan, if you don't earn a certain amount, you may not be eligible for any of this money at all. So, of course, they are trying to come up with some sort of bipartisanship with this plan. They're trying to come up with some sort of compromise because Democrats aren't going to agree to the plan if there's going to be an income requirement, and Republicans aren't going to agree to the plan unless it's fully paid for. Now, they do have the government funding bills coming up very soon, and of course they want to extend Trump's tax cuts both for individuals and corporations. So the Democrats might say, okay, we'll go ahead and extend these cuts for corporations, make it so corporations don't have to pay as many taxes, they get all these different tax breaks, as long as you also agree to our child tax credit version, where we send these payments out on a monthly basis and there's no income requirements. And if the Republicans want to extend Trump's tax cuts enough and have tax breaks for corporations, then maybe at the end of the day, they will end up striking a deal. That's what a lot of rumors are swirling around DC right now, that they're going to come up with a deal, extending Trump's tax cuts in exchange for making the child tax credit permanent. So that's very huge news and something I definitely could see happening. Now, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and move on to a quick Social Security update. This is also huge news, a very critical deadline coming up in just 5 days. So in just 5 days, we're going to have the new data for the CPIW. Now, this is especially critical because we're going to be looking ahead at the next 3 months of the CPIW data. That's basically the measurement of inflation. And they also use the CPIW to determine the increase for Social Security benefits next year. So that's going to be the COLA, the cost of living adjustment, that they're going to be increasing payments for all Social Security beneficiaries, whether you're receiving retirement, SSI, or SSDI. So once again, you can see up on the screen there, August 10th, we're going to get our first months of data, the 3 months that we really need to be paying attention to. And it's going to be for July, August, and September. So once again, on August 10th today, we're going to August 10th in 5 days, we're going to get the data for July. And then next month on September 13th, we're going to get the data for August. And then the following month after that, on October 12th, we're going to be getting the data for September. So July, August, and September are the most important data out there. That's because it's the third quarter. So we're going to be comparing this data, the third quarter of this year in 2023, to the third quarter of last year in 2022. And however much the CPIW has gone up by, whether it's 2%, whether it's 3%, whether it's 4%, or whether it's 8.7% like it was last year, whatever the percentage change is from the third quarter of this year, from the third quarter of last year, whatever increases by is going to be the cost of living adjustment increase that all Social Security beneficiaries are going to be receiving. And right now, in our latest projection by the Senior Citizens League, they believe the COLA is going to come in at right around 3%. Now, the CPIW year over year was less than 3% last month whenever we had our latest inflation readings for June when that data was released in July. But, it is expected this number is actually going to increase over time because inflation is not slowing down. It's still going up, but just at a slower rate. So they are expecting right around 3%, which is actually up higher from their last projection in the previous month of 2.7%. So again, August 10th, just coming up in 5 days, is going to give us a much, much better idea of how much of an increase we can expect to receive for all Social Security beneficiaries. So mark your calendars. August 10th is going to be a huge date. Again, a 3% increase is going to mean something different for people who receive different amounts. But also you have to keep in mind that the Medicare Part B premiums will also decrease whatever you're receiving. So that's something that we definitely have to keep our eyeballs out on as well. But that's all the news that we have for today's video. I certainly hope that you enjoyed and found value out of it. If you did, again, I would greatly appreciate if you could give this video a like. Consider subscribing to my channel if you have not already. And I will see you in the next video.